Hey, good evening. My name is Thomas Horrocks. I have the distinct privilege tonight to introduce the brains behind this whole thing. But before I do that, she asked me to talk a little bit about me and my race and sort of why we're here in the long-term vision. So I'm running for House District 62, which is just south of here. It's the donut of Monroe County, outside of the city of Bloomington, all of Brown County, a little bit of Jackson County. But it just so happens to be, by the numbers, the most competitive race in Indiana. It was a race that was determined by 73 votes in 2022 after a recount. So it was a really great shot to flip a seat, be a part of breaking the supermajority this year. Michelle asked me to talk to you a little bit about how I got into this. I am a pastor and I'm a chaplain in the Indiana Army National Guard. And the short story is, in the course of that work, I came to a realization that has sort of become the slogan for my campaign, and it's what's on my t-shirt right now, which is that charity doesn't fix what policy creates. I came to this. In other words, there are certain problems that hard work and charity just aren't enough to overcome. And that's especially true in rural Indiana. There was a report that came out a couple of years ago that said it's not that rural Hoosiers have stopped working hard, it's just that hard work has stopped paying off. We've got lots of issues, lots of things that are affecting everyday Hoosiers, and charity is not enough to plug that. We have to go upstream and find out why they're falling in, which is why I decided to run for office. And it's why all of these folks here are so necessary, because we have in Indiana right now a supermajority that is so deeply out of touch with everyday Hoosiers' values and needs that they're not even representing Republicans very well. We are in a race to the bottom in so many categories. They're decimating our education system, our waterways. You've heard all about this. And these are not problems that are going to be solved through charity. These aren't problems that are going to be solved through church work. Those things are good. There's always going to be a space for that. Generosity will always be important and necessary, but we're never going to solve the problems that are facing everyday Hoosiers if we don't get into the place where policy is made to plug the holes where people are falling in. And so we have a long-term plan. I have to win this November. Right? We have to flip District 62 this November. There's a few other seats around the state that we have to flip this November to break the supermajority. But as I've been saying at these events, this is just the beginning, this is not the end. We are part of a long-term plan and a long-term strategy, because if we flip 62 this November and we flip a few others around Indianapolis this November, and any others that happen are great, but we're not going to stop there. Because then in 2026, we're going to hold those seats and we're going to expand. And the people here in southern Indiana who are running that don't win this time, they're going to win in 26. And we're going to win a few more seats in 26, and then we're going to hold those, and we're going to expand again in 28. And then we're going to get to 2030, and what happens in 2030? Census, redistricting, redrawing the lines, right? And we're going to have a say. And we're going to help redraw the lines to better reflect the reality that is Indiana. We're told that we're hopelessly red, that we're hopelessly Republican, there's no going back. It is not true, folks.
No, it is not.
We are not hopelessly Republican. We are gerrymandered, and we are exhausted, and we are suppressed.
Yep.
But if we work hard, and if we work hard through the organization that's happening right here in other places, we have a chance. And as I've been saying for District 62, as we've been saying around the state, if we turn out, we will win.
Yes, we do.
If we turn out, and so we got to get over the apathy, right? So, well, it just doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. Your vote absolutely matters. And if we turn out, we will win. And so that's why we need the teamwork that Michael was talking about. That's why this particular forum, this summit is so important. That's why it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce to you the brains behind all of this. And I'm not going to steal her thunder to tell you how it happened. But she has been the driving force behind what has become this incredible movement here in southern Indiana, bringing people together in what have otherwise been very lonely districts, feeling like there's no support from other places. She's brought us together. She's given us a family and a team, and she's given us hope for a future where I think over the next several seats, we're going to see major change in southern Indiana, all because of the work of Michelle Higgs. Come on up.
Michelle Higgs. I'm running for House District 60. And I just want to take a moment to introduce two very special people in my life, my mom and my dad. My dad, Larry Burke's wearing the turtle hat. The turtle hat actually means don't take life so seriously and get out and talk to people. Larry Burke's, he managed the Swifty gas station on Main Street for over 25 years. I have it on authority that Destiny Wells did not know how to pump her own gas because of you. And one day you weren't there and she had to go across the street and didn't know what to do and she blamed you. So just saying.
Forgiveness.
And then my mom, Carol Burks, she delivered meals throughout Morgan County with Socoa. If you look at that handout that's on the on your tables, there is a hand drawing on there that's called Indiana. My mom drew that. So thank you very, very much. I want to tell you a story because this kind of really impacted where I'm at today. Years ago, I was watching television. I was watching the National Geographic Channel. And there was a show about the iguana on Galapagos Islands. And the iguanas would live up on the rocks, but they would put their eggs in the sand. And when those baby iguanas hatch, they'd have to run to the rocks, which seems fine, except that in that same space were asps, snakes. And so you'd see all of these baby iguanas emerge and then run like crazy to get to those rocks. And some would make it, but a lot of them would suddenly just be surrounded and just overcome with snakes, and that would be it. And it was visceral, and it was raw, and it was brutal. And it has stayed with me, because in 2016, when I returned to Indiana, the place where I had grown up and I graduated from Martinsville High School, I learned that the hospital that my brother was born in no longer delivers babies. It's a regional cancer center. And I got involved in grassroots organizing around environment and around housing and healthcare. And it didn't matter how many times I'd go to that state house and I would bring people with me and we would talk to legislators. And the supermajority behind closed doors would make their decision and then they'd come out. They didn't even need to get someone like Matt Pierce's decision on it. Not even his opinion. They could just do it themselves. And it got so frustrating. So then come January, looking at our primary ballot, and I'm with my neighbors, Susan and Doug Davis, and we're looking going, oh my gosh, nobody's running against Peggy Mayfield. And my husband's like, I keep telling Michelle she should run. And I'm like, yeah, right, no. And then Susan and Doug are like, yeah, she should run. And then Doug's like, no, she should really run. And I kept waiting for somebody to say, thank you very much, pat me on the head, and that's enough. But instead what I was getting was, thank you for stepping in. When I think of the story of the iguanas and the snakes, I see that we get three choices kind of in life. We get the choice to feel helpless, to be the observer, to be the thoughts and prayers. So I think about all those situations such as gun violence, an overdose, deaths of despair, children left in foster care systems aging out. And sometimes that feels so helpless, and it's very easy to just go, I don't know what to do, I'm checking out, I'll vote once a year, that's it. And we become just observers. I'll be honest though, the worst is to be the snakes. And we have people actively making and deciding policies that are harming people, that are putting profiteers over people, that are making it an extraction economy, that are looking at people as being expendable. And I tell people a lot of times, Morgan County is like the drive-through county. We have two major roads, 67, now 69. And when I talk to people outside of Morgan County, I say, how often do you stop at any of these towns in Morgan County? And they'll be like, I don't even think about it. I'm on my way to the airport, I'm on my way to Indy or back or Bloomington. When I graduated, I moved to Los Angeles ultimately. I was in LA for over 25 years. And when I would tell people I'm from Indiana, they would say, what happens in Indiana? You guys grow corn and that's about it? And I go, no, there's a whole lot of other things. But the thing that they would often say is, oh, well, Indiana is a flyover state. And I'm here to tell you the feeling that I got at being called a flyover state is the feeling that you get when you're a drive-by county. It's the feeling we get when we're told we're just not that flippable state. We're not the swing state. We're not the battleground state. So when we have national politics that don't invest here, it is really hard to say, hey, I'm going to run for a House seat. Yeah. That you're going to have to fundraise and campaign one year and work your butt off the next to get out the vote in a red district where people go, well, good luck, but we're not going to turn out. And then you get to do it all over again. Yep. And all over again. And I said, I'm not in this for fundraising. I am not in this just to do something. I'm in this to build power with people to make change. So, I talked to my friend Thomas Horrocks because I was really frustrated. And he said, hey, Michelle, there's this book called Dirt Road Organizing. You should get it. So I did. And the first chapter validated all my feelings. And the whole premise of it is literally go out and door knock and talk to everybody. The person you don't think that they would even possibly agree with you, they actually might. And you know what? It's true. I went out canvassing the other day with Becky. And we were door knocking, and I didn't realize, wave your hand, Becky, because she was a brave soul, went out with me. And I didn't see the giant Trump sign on the side. I just da-da-da-da. So I knocked on the door. And the guy comes out. Now, here's a fun fact. If they're watching a Colts game, talk sports. Just do it. Just start there. And she was wearing an Indiana Fever sweatshirt, and he's an Indiana Fever fan. So we were doing good. We were doing great. And then I just said, I'm running, and I'm running against Peggy Mayfield. And all of a sudden, he looked up and he goes, I can't stand Peggy Mayfield. He goes, you have my vote. Okay. But all that to say that we've sat and we talk with people who are going through a hard time, and it's difficult. And when I talk about these policies that are, you know, things like recognizing we have a health and maternal desert, while we have a legislation that's taking away women's bodily autonomy and forcing pregnancy without any infrastructure to support a family. That is immoral. Most of my life has been wrapped up in the pro-choice, pro-life debate that has, I'll be honest, it has wedged women against women. It has created single-issue voting. And it has been manipulated to silence us, particularly women who have had infertility and miscarriages. And the thing is, we are once again back in a situation where women, for the largest part, have to reshare some trauma just to get bodily autonomy? Yeah. This is ridiculous. Yes. These are the snakes. When I talk about public education and the fact that they're going to send voucher money to people who earn over $220,000 a year who are already paying for private education, and those schools are for profit and they know exactly what they're doing. And I don't fully understand how, if there's a failing school, public school, they close that public school and then a charter school can buy it for $1. I don't understand that, because my tax dollars went in to invest in that public school and that infrastructure. But I can tell you the charter school replacing it is not required to have buses, is not required to have special education, and definitely doesn't subscribe to the same state mandates that a public school does. That's not right. Those are the snakes, because those children in public schools that lose out, they become expendable. And what are their pathways? Incarceration, military. And don't get me wrong, military can be a good thing for people, but here's the thing. They generally send kids from poor neighborhoods to go to the front lines in battles that our politicians create. And my children, I don't want them to have that. I don't want my friends' children to have that. And I certainly don't want a mother across the ocean crying over her child as well. War isn't the answer, and yet it seems like these are the pathways that we're getting. So, those are the snakes. The third option, though, and this is what I'm leaning into, the third option is hope and help. When I moved back in 2016, I did grassroots organizing, like I said. I got involved, healthcare, environment, all of that. And when I decided to run for office, and I realized this is going to be an uphill 2-year thing, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Talked to Thomas, got the book, had a brainstorm. We need to do a band tour. And I called Thomas back, and I'm like, hey, what do you think about a band tour? He's like, what? And I said, well, no, hear me out. We got all these House candidates, and all of our districts are intersecting. What if we got a group of us, and we just went from place to place, and we did this thing kind of like a rural summit, and we invite people, and we invite our base, because here's the thing. The people in this room, and I want y'all to look around at each other. We candidates will come and go. Some of us will get elected, some of us won't. Some of us will go do other things. But guess what? You're probably going to still be trying to move things in your communities. So the people that you are sitting with, that is our base. That is who we need to grow. Woo! So I knew that if we could connect, if I could connect Johnson County Dems with the Morgan County Dems with the Monroe County Dems, oh my God, it is an Oreo sandwich that's amazing. Okay? If I could get Victoria, who caucused in at the last minute, and here's the reality. She was able to caucus in, and we had a support network ready to go for her. We had a team ready to help her, so she's not doing this alone. I cannot tell you how important that is as a candidate. And I'm brand new at this. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But I think it works to be not alone. So, all of that to say that I am running for House District 60. I am running to put people first. I am running because I care about this view out here, that people have water and air and good soil and education and the absolute opportunity that we are a state of abundance and not scarcity. There is no reason why we should have $1 billion in a rainy day fund that we don't even use during a pandemic to keep people in their homes and businesses open. If that's not an emergency, I don't know what will be. We support each other. We need to come back to our roots and remember who we are. We're the birthplace of the labor movement. We were a stop on the Underground Railroad. We speak freedom all the time. In our DNA, it's here, and we have forgotten who we are, while we have our opposition scapegoating. And so right now, the joy, the community, the Hoosier hospitality that we're feeling here, it's going to be infectious, and we're taking it everywhere. And I invite you to join us, join the Rural Summit, support your local candidates, support your up-ballot candidates, and if you happen to live in House District 60, please support me and vote for me come November. Thank you very much.